Imagine a predator so invisible that the police literally returned one of his victims back to him. This is a story about how a monster was allowed to exist. Jeffrey Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From the outside, his family looked normal. His father, Lionel, was a young chemistry student. His mother, Joyce, battled anxiety, depression, and insomnia. Their home was full of shouting, prescription pills, and emotional instability. Jeffrey didn't cry for attention. He learned early that nobody listened. Neighbors described him as quiet. Teachers saw a lonely boy, often staring out the window. He had no deep friendships, no emotional connection. His family moved houses frequently, adding to a growing feeling that he never belonged anywhere. His father, thinking he was encouraging curiosity, showed Jeffrey how to preserve animal bones using chemicals. For Lionel, it was science. For Jeffrey, it awakened something else. Not fascination with killing, but with control and possession. Objects did not leave him. Animals did not abandon him. People would at 18. Shortly after his parents' divorce, Jeffrey committed his first murder. He didn't plan it. He simply acted, driven by a sudden panic at the thought of being left alone. He hid what happened, convinced himself it would never happen again. And for nearly a decade, it didn't. But Dahmer's life unraveled. He dropped out of college due to alcoholism. He was discharged from the army for the same reason. He drifted between jobs. He drank to silence intrusive fantasies. He felt invisible, forgotten. His addiction wasn't alcohol. It was a growing obsession with possession and control. Milwaukee, Unit 213. From the outside, it looked like any ordinary apartment: beige carpet, cheap furniture, small kitchen, a fish tank bubbling quietly. But behind the closed door, Jeffrey created a world where abandonment was impossible. He invited young men with promises of easy money or photography. Once inside, he drugged them. He wanted complete silence, complete obedience, complete control. He told investigators later, "I wanted them to stay. I didn't want them to leave." Most victims came from marginalized backgrounds, living in communities ignored by authorities. When they disappeared, no one looked closely. Dahmer counted on that one incident could have stopped everything. May 27, 1991, a boy, disoriented, injured, barely able to stand, escaped Dahmer's apartment. Neighbors called the police, terrified. Dahmer calmly told officers it was just a domestic argument. The boy, unable to speak clearly due to the drugs, couldn't explain. And then the police said the words that would haunt the case forever. "Take care of your boyfriend." They walked the boy back into Dahmer's apartment. They never checked IDs. They never ran background checks. They ignored the neighbors begging them to investigate. The system handed a victim back to a creditor. That night, the story could have ended. Instead, it continued. True crime often focuses on killers, but the victims here matter more. Most were young, many were minorities. Some faced homelessness. Several were LGBTQ+ and rejected by family or community. Their disappearances were minimized. Their voices were ignored. And Dahmer exploited society's prejudice. When the system doesn't care about certain lives, predators thrive. July 22, 1991, Tracy Edwards accepts Dahmer's invitation to take some pictures for money. Inside apartment 213, he notices something wrong, a foul odor. Dahmer tries to handcuff him, but Tracy fights back. He escapes and runs into the street, handcuffed, screaming for help. This time, officers follow him back to the apartment. Inside a bedside drawer, they find Polaroids. Not artistic photographs, but undeniable evidence. One officer whispers, Jeffrey Dahmer is arrested on the spot. In interrogation, Dahmer confesses everything. He speaks calmly, as if describing a routine. He admits that control, not hatred, drove him. I didn't want them to leave. Psychologists later concluded that Dahmer's crimes were rooted in fear of abandonment, inability to form emotional bonds, desire for permanent possession. A tragic mixture of psychological trauma and untreated mental health. Jeffrey Dahmer received 15 life sentences, 957 years in prison. His final words to the court, "I deserve whatever I get." In prison, he claimed to have found religion. Other inmates saw him making jokes about his crimes, mocking staff, provoking anger. And then, on November 28, 1994, during cleaning duty, Jeffrey Dahmer was killed by another inmate. He was 34 years old. Jeffrey Dahmer should not be remembered as a mystery or an icon of evil. He should be remembered as a warning, a child ignored, police negligence that cost lives. Society choosing who deserves attention and who doesn't. True crime isn't about admiring killers. It's about exposing systems that allow them to exist.